The fourth episode of Pachinko is here, titled Chapter 4, and it has no title. And this episode has three major plot points. Number one is Sunja marries Isaac, and her life begins. Sunja in the future returns to Yongdo, and Solomon finalized the deal on buying the building. So let's start with Sunja's journey in this episode. Moving away from the last episode, we know that Isaac asked Sunja to marry him to go away from Sunja is currently living, and the episode opens with an interaction between Hansu and Isaac. During this conversation, he explains about his brother who was taken, and he also tells him that focusing on the past is pathetic. That's the suit that he has is from his brother, and Isaac comes to the realization of who he is and why he's there, and he noticed, hey, this is the father of Sunja's kid. Now Hansu tries to show his power to him, which is why this scene was super interesting, because it shows the power and the way Hansu behaved is just really interesting. But Isaac, he tells the clerk, hey, the one day that my son grows, because the conversation between Hansu and Isaac was because of the suit being too small. But what happens later is that Isaac tells the clerk that is working there that one day his son is gonna grow, and he shows into the suit and shows that moment of power in Isaac. And we can see how Hansu is just pissed as he hears the news that they're gonna go and get married. Now we jump to the pastor, and we get the story of how the pastor wants to marry, of course, Sunja, but of course it's a huge thing that is affect the family name, but it's the belief of the family and her that makes the story more interesting, because they see it, of course, as something really huge. In 1930s Korea, having children without getting married was considered bad for many reasons. First, it brought dishonor to the family and to society, and second, the women who had children out of wedlock were denied birth certificates for their children, so that's why she's gonna marry the character of Isaac. So it was a mark of shame. Once you had a child outside of your marriage, you were instantly considered a fallen woman. And even if you don't have kid, unmarried women were still looked down upon. And the thing that he does is that he prays for them and marries them in that moment. The pastor asks her as well if she will commit to the Lord. And this is something that we continue to see in Sunja's life in the future. And it was a beautiful moment in this episode, as the way it's filmed is really artistic with the shots they use, just amazing. Sunja's mother goes to get white rice as a way to celebrate, but also gives her something for the last meal. This is her last meal that they're gonna be together, and the process of making her the last thing she's gonna eat from her mom is beautiful before she's gonna go away, Sunja. And not seeing her mother again, that's something that, from my understanding, that is that they never saw each other again, which is just sad later in the episode. Now in the future, Sunja is going home, and it's something that we're gonna see the character go back to her home. And the scene in the last episode of the rice in the dinner, where they're gonna go ahead and go to grandmother, it connects to this, and why the rice is different, because it connects to the history of their family. So Yang Ying has gone through a lot as well, and I apologize if I say the name incorrectly. Also, rice is something that we have seen a lot in the show. It represents a new path Sunja is going to take. Now this dinner where we see Sunja and her mother, and she represents the way of rice is shown as something of value and the emotion she takes. This scene was beautiful. We also see how he was the one that teach her to pray, and the religious belief that she has in the future, it came from Isaac. We now understand more when she said that the pastor in the last episode reminded her of someone, as it was her ex-husband. Now Sunja has a beautiful spirit, and she has become my favorite character in the show. And this scene of eating rice, something that we have taken for granted in our times, it was a privilege for them. Instead of, as we know, the Japanese were the ones that were able to eat this pure rice instead of a mix of grains and rice. Instead of the Koreans that ate this, it was a beautiful way of this scene, like, hey, I'm gonna give you the purest thing before you go, Sunja's mother. Now Sunja's mother packed her thing as they're going to move to Japan. Some we see Sunja in the future doing herself this as a way to showcase the last time she was, the package of when was the last time she was there, and again in the future the time she's gonna go back. So it's a way to represent how time has passed, and it's just a beautiful way to show those two things. We see how Sunja is going to start her journey, and we see her in the marketplace. She's going to say goodbye to everything that was part of her life and move away from this life. But Sunja is taken away and is brought to Hansu, where we can see how he pays the police. And this conversation, he has he's gonna marry the fool and ask her not to go and just have her as a mistress. But of course, this will affect her name. Now, Hansu is a really manipulative man, and this scene was a way to ask her not to go with the pastor, as it's his children, it's his child. She said that it's not his children, it's her. Sunja then says goodbye to everyone, and this was the last time she saw them, which is just super sad. And she asks her friend to take care of her mother, which shows as well, like, hey, her mother's going to be alone, and you're the only one that I have, so beautiful as well. I love the following when the character of Sunja is in different time periods, and I love the scene where she thinks of her family and all that. And the last time she saw them, it's a way to represent, like, yeah, I'm going back to that, but this was the last moment where I saw them. And it's during this time where Sunja meets a famous singer, and the famous singer later comes really important to the story. The last conversation we have is to give everything as a mother and wife, and be patient and grateful. We can see a mother that is preparing her child for a new world, and Sunja is such a beautiful character that is taking that all in. This goodbye was beautiful, and this moment where she starts crying more and more was super sad. And this was her last goodbye, which is just wow. Now they go into the boat and this new experience, and we can see how it's hot. She's pregnant. She starts to feel sick, and this journey, like, hey, this is what happened. Everyone was there. It was super packed. There was a lot of people. We're introduced to the singer. She's in high class eating steak. She's touched really weirdly by a man there. He is Japanese, but it appears that she's Korean, and she has gone through assault, from what I understand in the scene, as well as, physical violence like wars and so on. Her singing is absolutely beautiful. It's the music of Korean, who are from a poor family. That's why everyone started to scream. The Japanese started to scream, and we can understand why in the future the grandmother is thinking about the pain generational families endure and how this is still happening. Something we see from the old businessman. During this, the pastor is asked about the workers that they're gonna go and work in the mines of Chikuho, and this connects to the story she explains in the future. And the period is the Koreans endure and how her family came later. She said her father came first, and this connects on like, hey, it was good, but it was painful. In the future, where we see the deal, we can see how they're concerned more about the money instead of the story of the human being. That prejudice is still there. It has not changed. Go ahead and talk about that in a moment. Let's move into Sunja in the future. We see how she is starting her journey. She's going back to her home. This after Kyung-hee, her died in the last episode without visiting her home. Hyung-hee is a character that we're going to see in the next episode. She was the wife of Isaac's older brother, someone whom we're going to meet as well in the next episode. So we can see how Sunja arrives to see where she was with her father in episode 1. It's her land, and this scene I cried because this was a beautiful, beautiful moment. It's her life, it's her memories, it's her happiness, and this scene was beautiful. The show, as we know, is absolutely beautiful, and this scene in particular where she is there crying and the rain is falling out to her, it was like all the memories came through, and we can see how it was a scene in the past where she was with her father. And I'm excited to see whom she finds from her past in the next episode. Now, we cut to in the future as well. We see Solomon that's making the deal, and he's talking to the character of Naomi, and we can see a beginning of a creation of the relationship. So, not sure what's going to happen with that, but we can see something's going to happen. And we get to understand why she's there in Chiflis, as is the way she can rise up. But we also see a lot of sexist man from the character that's asked, hey, about the memo, the information was there. So awesome scene. And we can see how the grandmother is going to read the contract and how it's the same one, but she wants to know everything about this contract. But what happens is that she decides not to sign the contract. Of course, disconnect to the pain her family had to go through to get this building, and now this Japanese men are just gonna buy it from her, easily. And it just doesn't work like that. So, and also we can see how the businessmen are just like really rude, and they only care about the land, they don't care about her. So it was a good decision not to sell. And this is where Solomon like, hey, I cannot take this anymore. He goes outside, he goes running, he throws everything behind, he's free, his identity in a way. And this is where we can see how the music volumes up, and we can see him, he's just free and happy. It's a way to say, hey, I don't want that in my life. So what's going to happen as well next with the character of Solomon. So that's the episode as a whole. It was a beautiful, beautiful episode. But where we're going to go next in the next episode, where the show is going, we can see Sunja is going to visit her home. Who she's going to find from the promo, we can see that she's going to meet someone. I don't know who that is. I've been trying to figure it out, but maybe someone from her past. We also know that she's going to visit where I believe the funeral of his dad, like where he was buried. And we can also see the character Solomon somewhere. I believe he's gonna find his ex-girlfriend or sister. I'm not sure, Hannah. He's looking for his sister, but as well, we know that the character of Hannah is gonna be a big part of the show going forward, which it was an ex-girlfriend that he talked about. We're also gonna meet Isaac's brother, and when they arrive into Osaka, and Isaac's wife, Kyung-hee, who we also met in episode 2. Kyung-hee, and again, I apologize if I said their names wrong. But that's the whole episode. A beautiful, beautiful episode. What are your thoughts? Leave it in comments below. I will put the promo now so you can go ahead and watch that and you can have an idea what's going to happen next.
누가 선자 씨에게 평생 살아온 고향을 떠나서 새로 시작하자 한다면 그럴 수 있겠어요?
So what are your thoughts on the episode? Leave your comments below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Christian from Beyond Premiere, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.